Hello and welcome to Shadow the Stereotypes podcast. I'm your host, Coach Michael Taylor, and today we have a very special segment. Today happens to be Father's Day, and first of all, let me say Happy Father's Day to all the amazing fathers out there. We all know the stereotypes about black men being deadbeat dads, but we are shattering those stereotypes, and today I'm going to definitely shatter that stereotype because I'm going to have a conversation with this very special guest. This is my son, Mike. And Mike is from San Antonio, Texas, and he's come down to spend Father's Day with me. So I'm just really excited to have him on this session of the Shadow the Stereotypes podcast. And just great to have you here, man. How you doing today?
Doing great. Doing amazing, man.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, again from San Antonio, came down, had some great brunch, had some great time. My house on Father's Day. So as you said earlier, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. This is your day, and happy Father's Day.
All right, so this is a non-scripted segment, and he and I are just going to have a conversation about being a parent and growing up. Because, being a father can be challenging, no question about it. And I've definitely had my challenges, and I don't claim to be perfect, but I know that I've done the absolute best that I can as a father. And I actually love being a dad. I really do. And this guy really makes it easy. Being a dad, and my other two kids also. So I want to first of all begin, Mike, by asking you, so what are your earliest memories as my son? What do you remember? What's the first thing you kind of remember? What do you think?
Man, the first thing I remember was back in Houston. We're living in the White House, as we called it. And I remember being in my earliest memory, we were in the restroom and you were shaving. I remember getting a razor, but still with the little plastic on the edge of the razor. And just look in the mirror and just being just like you, putting some shaving in my face, trying to shave, and I guess I was maybe about 3 years old at the time. But that's probably my most earliest memory of us back in the White House, trying to be like my pops growing up. So
actually, I remember that, and I also remember you're about that age, and I remember goggling with some mouthwash, and you wanted to try it, and you said, "I want to goggle with mouthwash." So I said, "Mike, look. You can't swallow it." I said, when you put it in your mouth, just gargle it and spit it out.
Mm-hmm.
And
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
You're about 3, and I remember giving you a little cup. I gave you just a little bit. And I remember you pour like this, and I think you swallowed a little bit of it, and you start coughing.
Yeah.
And then you spit it out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so funny, but I do remember those days, us standing in front of the mirror,
right,
and you mimicking everything that I did. Yeah, I also remember that. Now, I also remember this, when you were about 5 or 6. Now, this is gonna be a little embarrassing, but this is a true story.
All right.
Your mom calls me on the phone, and she's panicking. She says, "Michael, you've got to come home. You've got to come home." I go, "What's the matter?" "Your son." I go, "What did he do?" "You just come home," she says. "Just come home." So I rush home, and I don't know what's going on. And I go, "What happened? What happened?" So she says, "Go in there and ask your son. You were in the bedroom." I walk in the bedroom, and I go, "Mike, what did you do?" And you had this little guilty look on your face. And I said, "Mike, what did you do?" And you reached out and you pulled down your pants and you had marked on your penis with magic markers.
I don't remember that at all.
You had color. I mean, it was like 5 or 6 different bright colors. I thought it was hilarious. Your mom was freaking out and panicking. I remember you didn't know how I was going to react. But I reached over and grabbed you, and I hugged you, and I said, "It's okay." And I thought it was so funny. So I go back to your mom, and she's panicking. She's mad. I'm like, "What's wrong?" "Well, look what he did." "He's just a kid." But I'll never forget that. That was
what? That's
funny.
a story we never talked about that ever. Yes, it's very embarrassing about that, but
you're like 4 or 5 years old, but I'll never forget that because I was worried that you had broken something or something was wrong.
Right.
All you had did was use the magic marker.
Oh man.
Okay, so that's a funny little story that you won't live down for a while. But anyway, all right. So next question. So one of the things as fathers that we sometimes have to deal with, which can be really difficult, is the whole issue of divorce.
Right.
And I know that when me and your mom divorced, for me, it was one of the most devastating things that I've ever experienced, because it broke my heart to be separated from you and to, in essence, be leaving you. And that was really, really hard. So do you remember what kind of impact that had on you when you were a kid?
Definitely. I don't remember the time when it happened. I don't remember like a specific day with you leaving and me crying out to you like, Dad, don't leave. I do remember my earlier experiences with you growing up, and then you just being gone for a while. And talked to my mom about it, asked my mom like, where's my dad at, this and that. And you would still come visit, and I would see you. And I just remember just a sense of just always wanting to see you, not knowing quite where you were at, but just a sense of not necessarily abandonment at the time, just more so of just a spot that just wasn't fulfilled because my dad wasn't around. And I remember, again, just being kind of confused, sad at times, obviously, but it was something that was obviously pretty hard for me at a young age.
Yeah, and I remember that as though yesterday. Really difficult times. There were nights where I'd stay up and I couldn't sleep because I missed you guys so much. Trying to do the right thing as a dad. I was going through a bunch of financial stuff myself because of the divorce and
Sure.
being evicted from my apartment, which I actually never really told you guys about because I was dealing with a lot of, shame myself. But rest assured, and I know you know this, that although I wasn't with you, I was with you.
100%.
I never forget that I used to journal, and I still journal actually, all the time in my journal. And my prayer was always that you guys are going to be okay. And so I remember I did as the best I could under the circumstances
Right.
to stay in your life. Matter of fact, I know I've never missed one of your birthdays. I tried to come to your games. I remember watching you play baseball and just remember how proud I used to be to see you pitching, how awesome that was. But I know you know this now, but during that time, I just want you to know that I missed you when I wasn't there.
Right.
I missed all of you a lot. And so one of the things that I did during that time, and I don't know if I shared this with you, but I was so afraid of what would happen to you guys during the divorce that I started reading a lot of books on dealing with divorce.
Wow.
And I wanted to make sure that I did the best that I could as a father. And so I had to, in essence, learn how, and that's why I tried to stay connected and tried to make sure that I let you know where I was all the time. And it was hard on me, but I know it was hard on you guys even more.
Definitely. Right.
So for all the fathers out there, you just have to recognize that being a great father isn't genetic. It's a learned behavior. So even though you may not have had a father figure in your life, you can still become a great father. And so I never had a real relationship with my dad. As a matter of fact, the relationship was pretty estranged. But I made a commitment. I made a choice that I was going to be the best father I could be. And it took a lot of effort. It took a lot of energy on my part to learn how to do that. So recognize that, again, as a father, if you happen to have children, it's your responsibility, regardless of the relationship you may have with their mom, it's your responsibility to always be a part of their lives. That's the key. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to show up. So, Mike, I want to think about, or have you share, what are some of the fondest memories that you have, regardless of what age? Just think about, what are some of the fondest memories you have between you and I?
Definitely the trips to Houston. I remember being in Corpus, talking on the phone the night before, telling me you're coming down and come to pick us up the next day, and just that night being so excited to see my dad, looking forward to it, couldn't sleep, and then I would literally, you'd tell me what time about you would get there, so I'd sit outside about 30 minutes prior to that, and literally just wait until I saw that yellow car, come down the street, and I remember when I saw it, I would just light up and get so happy. And just the rides out to Houston, our conversations, those honestly were the part of the fondest memories I've had. But again, it's just you can't replace those childhood memories, man. They're priceless.
One of the things I remember is that when you were young, you would always do whatever you could to try to appear taller.
Oh yeah.
Whenever
Yeah.
we take pictures, you'd stand up on your tippy toes and you'd say, "I'm getting as tall as you, Dad. You're getting as tall as you." And now you're actually taller than me, so I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but I do remember every time we took a picture, you were always trying to make yourself look taller.
And then the way I would kind of gauge if I was growing, I would, stand next to you and see where I was at every time we would visit. I'll get into your arm and try to take it to your shoulder. And it was always kind of, I just wanted to always, my goal in life was to be taller than my dad. I want to be taller than you. And yeah, that was a good time, definitely.
Yeah, now, a couple of memories that I have. You remember the time we went down to Cancun, Mexico?
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
I had my first alcoholic beverage down there, actually. Strawberry daiquiri, I remember that, yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Uh-huh.
Now, I'm curious now, you obviously grown up to be, as a father, I couldn't be more proud of you. Okay, just to watch you grow and become the man that you are just really warms my heart and confirms for me that I've done a great job as a dad.
Great job, definitely.
So I get that. But my proudest moment for you as a dad was when you went through some challenges in your own life. You had a car accident. Very, very bad car accident.
Right.
And you went through some financial difficulties and some challenges, but yet you were able to overcome all those challenges. And now it's almost like you and I followed a similar path.
I think about that also. I do, yeah.
And to watch you overcome all those challenges and to deal with that adversity, that's what confirms for me that not only did I do a great job, but you became the man that I always dreamed you would be.
That means a lot to say that, to hear that from you.
That's what confirms for me, because you became the man I've always dreamed, because I've always known that you were not just special and unique, but you were just, in a lot of ways, a reflection of me. And so thinking back to some of those challenges that you overcame, how much influence do you think I had in how you dealt with that?
You've tremendous influence. Again, I just remember, growing up, I'll say, I mean, we've always had a good, close relationship, but around high school is when we started having those deeper conversations about life. You started to kind of open up about things you've dealt with in your life, some of the challenges that you faced, how you overcame them. And, as a young child, you don't really understand or can wrap your head around what it means or takes to be a father. And, looking back at some of the things that have happened, and fast forward until now, the number one, like I said, the car accident, for example. When you went through your divorce, you told me about how painful that was for you, what you had to overcome, depression, suicidal thoughts, the financial struggles. I dealt with a lot of those similar things, and I thought about you, honestly, in those moments, and it was tough. Wasn't always the easiest to get through, but I knew from our conversations and just having someone who went through something similar that it's something that can be overcome. And it may be a little tough right now, but with persistence and staying positive and just listening to your words of wisdom that just really stuck with me over the years, that really helped me overcome those things that I went through.
Well, again, as a father, it hurts to see your child when they're struggling and are dealing with challenges. But as you went through some of those things, I remember some of the conversations we had. I remember every time I hung up, I would feel this deep sense of pride, because I knew that you were going to be able to deal with those challenges. And I knew that, and as I will tell you, everything happens for a reason. Definitely. And you're going to get through this. And those words of encouragement I tried to convey, but you took them to heart.
I did.
You listened, and you overcame some amazing challenges in your life. And now, as I look at you now, and I see this big smile on your face, and we're having a conversation today about, how well you're doing financially in that right now, and how you have goals for the future, and we're talking about possible marriage and relationships and all this. I get this amazing sense of accomplishment as a dad.
Definitely.
Like, man, my boy is like, I can't put it into words, but it's perfect for this conversation, because too many times as black fathers, you don't see us talking about how amazing we can be as fathers and seeing a father-son conversation and relationship that we have. And so I think it's really important that other men of color engage in these types of conversations. And that's why I created this podcast, because I want to showcase men who are defying the stereotypes, who are shattering the stereotypes. And so Another thing I want to talk to you about is you and I have some really deep conversations, which I absolutely love about you, that we're able to
Right.
have those conversations. And so we were talking earlier today about relationships.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I noticed is that you're very observant. And so I'm currently married, and you absolutely love my current wife, and my current
Yeah.
wife loves you.
She's amazing.
Yeah, my wife is absolutely amazing.
amazing.
Defying another stereotype, by the way. But from your perspective, when you look at my relationship with my wife, my marriage, what are your thoughts about now, especially after the conversation we had today, about where you're going and what you're looking forward to in relationships?
Right. What's in your marriage, number one, is that it doesn't just look. I know it's authentic. It's not something that's for show. You're not trying to be happy or appear to be happy. You're genuinely happy. When you talk to Bedra, it's almost every conversation. You guys are just so engaged with each other. You just feel the love, and just seeing that. With me, as we talked about earlier today, I've had a pretty negative, I guess, connotation towards marriage, based off a lot of different things. One being growing up in a household where my parents were divorced at a young age, which put some trauma in my life and put a negative, image in my mind about marriage, and it made me want to kind of just stay away from it. But as you mentioned earlier about your marriage, so it's possible to be happy, and you guys are definitely an example of that.
Yeah, and so as I've said to you 100 times, it's definitely possible to find the right person to spend your life with. But first and foremost, you've got to have that relationship with yourself first.
Right.
And so one of the things we were talking about earlier was knowledge of self. And the intention of this podcast is to provide knowledge, wisdom, information to support other men in creating great relationships. So rest assured that if you're watching this video, it is absolutely possible for you to create a wonderful relationship, a connected, an emotionally connected, spiritually infused connection with another human being. And a lot of times as men, we don't talk about those things.
You don't.
And so what I want to do is share some information with this podcast and ways to do some of these things. And so today we're focusing on fatherhood, and obviously fatherhood encompasses being a dad and being a husband and things like that. So let's just kind of move this conversation a little bit to another direction, which is I believe that there are 4 pillars to living an extraordinary life:
Okay.
inner peace, dynamic health, great relationships, and financial abundance. So in terms of where you are you setting goals for yourself, or what are you doing to ensure your financial success? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Definitely. My position right now, when it comes to that, is definitely. Oh man.
Go ahead.
Financial success. Number one, paying off debt. Growing up. Yeah, man.
Drop the debt.
Got to, man.
Get rid of the debt.
Yeah, you don't really realize it when you're younger. You kind of go to school, go to college, you make good grades, you get a job, but financial literacy isn't necessarily spoken of. Keeping with your credit, the importance of that. So not really having that information, going through life, and then having it affect you in certain ways makes you realize how important it is. So I took some time out for myself. I wrote down some things I wanted to do and some goals I wanted to reach. And the top of the list financially was to get out of debt completely. I don't want to owe anybody any money at all.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and about a month ago, I got my car paid off, which is my last thing on my list I need to take care of. So now I'm 100% debt free, and it feels like a huge gorilla's off my back right now. It feels amazing. So, just working, having good spending habits, understanding that each dollar you spend, if you're not conscious about it, those little Starbucks add up, the hamburgers add up, eating out, all that adds up. So being conscious of where your money's going is another way that I really helped out with me paying off my debt as well too. So that was huge.
Nice. So the other portion of living an extraordinary life is dynamic health.
Right.
And so I know you take after your pops. Got some good genetics in there.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, you're very conscious of what you're ingesting in your body, not abusing illegal substances, taking care of yourself physically, going to the gym or whatever, working out, staying in shape. So how important is that to you?
Extremely important. One of the biggest, I say, takeaways for me is you want to form good habits, because habits is what's going to be the thing that gets you to do anything. So if you create a good habit to eat well, if you don't feel like working out, make it a habit. 21 days, they say it takes about 21 days for you to habit to stick. So if you don't want to go to the gym one day, stick to it, get through it. Drink plenty of water, obviously. Work out at least 4 to 5 times a week. And just really doing some research. Do your own research on health and nutrition. Just because you may, see something on television doesn't necessarily mean it's true when it comes to, your health. So do the real research. I don't eat a lot of, wheat, meats, and stuff like that. So I cut up a little bit of meat from my diet. Eat a ton of plants. And I'm not completely plant-based yet. I consider trying to go the whole vegetarian route. That lasted for about a week or so. Didn't quite last. But just being conscious of the food that I'm eating, and not just, you get hungry, you want to just suppress the feeling of just going to get a hamburger somewhere or pizza. But just be conscious of the food that you eat. Prepare it, the night before if possible, and that will make a huge difference in your health, definitely.
Yeah, that's another component that you've got to be aware of. I'm pushing 58 years old this year. That's kind of hard to believe. I know.
I still can't believe that, man.
Still can't believe I'm 58. But the point is as Mike mentions, habits. I've been working out for more than 30 years.
Personal trainer for a while too.
It's a habit. It's something that it's part of my lifestyle. So it's important that we, especially as men of color, make sure that we're taking care of our health physically. That's really, really important.
Right.
So another aspect of an extraordinary life is inner peace. And one of the things I'm a huge proponent of is meditation, and being comfortable within my own skin, and being comfortable with my thoughts, and recognizing what's going on in my mind. And so is there anything, Mike, that you do that helps you attain inner peace?
Definitely. In the morning, what I do is, before I even start my day, I do this every morning. I tell myself in my mind 10 things I'm grateful for. So that starts you off in the day in a state of gratitude. And it can be the smallest of things. I'm thankful for the electricity in my apartment. I'm thankful for my bed. I'm thankful for my health, my family, my friends. And just continuously thinking about, positive things that you're grateful for me, gives me a lot of good inner peace. Because if you're not careful, your thoughts, watching too much television, social media, things like that, you're going to start seeing, trends of negativity at times, trying to keep what the Joneses, and you don't have the inner peace because you're already trying to attain something, and you're never comfortable with what you have. And gratitude, expressing gratitude, for me anyways, gives me a lot of inner peace, and that's what really helps me out with that.
Nice. Now, I will speak something to that. There is so much power in creating a gratitude list that you repeat over and over.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're watching this video, if you've never done this, here's a little experiment for you. Real simple. For 5 days, I'm going to challenge you for 5 days. Simply write down 5 things you're grateful for. Now, you've got to create a practice, meaning I want you to choose a certain time of day that you're going to do it, and stick to that time of day when you do your list. You get to decide when that is, either morning or evening, but be consistent with it for 5 days. I promise you, if you will do that for 5 days consistently at the same time, more things will show up for you to be grateful for.
Exactly.
That's just how the universe works. But you must be willing to write them down. See, because when you take action and you write something down, that's more of a commitment. Excuse me. And when you make that commitment to it, your mind will engage differently than if I simply just have a thought saying, okay, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for... No. Write it down.
Yeah, in your own handwriting.
Write it down. Write down. Again, and this is a simple little exercise. 5 things that you're grateful for 5 days in a row. And I promise you, you will experience something different. You'll feel a different level of gratitude. And it'll, again, it takes the focus off all the things that are wrong with your life. Focus your attention on what is right with your life. And when you do that, more things that are right with your life will show up.
Definitely.
All right, so we've kind of touched bases on the 4 keys of living an extraordinary life. And again, this is a completely impromptu conversation. I didn't think about this, sketched it out. I just wanted to have a conversation with you. But now I want to give you an opportunity to ask me any question.
Any question?
Any question about anything. And let's just freewheel it, see what comes.
Okay. Well, it is Father's Day. So let's all right, first question here. That's kind of, I'm trying to think about, tell me one, I guess, childhood story, whether it be in high school, early 20s, one story that you've never told me about just any experience that you've had that I just don't know about.
Ooh, let's see. Oh, okay, I've got one. When I was in high school, I went to high school in Corpus Christi, Texas. And in 1977, 78, my friends and I were hanging out at a Taco Bell.
All right.
And the majority of my friends at the time happened to be white.
Okay.
And there was a rival school. A group of kids came to our Taco Bell where our school was hanging out. And the school was called Carroll. You know Carroll.
Yeah.
Okay, so these kids from Carroll came to Taco Bell where we were hanging out. And there was this fight that was beginning to happen. And so I'm there in the middle of this group, and we're arguing and about to have this confrontation. And then this one guy comes over to me and made some comment about me using the N-word. Okay?
All right.
And so I get face to face with the guy, and we're about to do what stupid high school kids do. We're about to have a fight. Well, the guy pulls out a gun, puts the gun to my head, and says, "Now what are you going to say, N-word?"
Wow.
And so I stood there, and amazingly, I wasn't scared for some reason. I don't know why. I wasn't scared. I think there was a part of me that knew that he was bluffing in a way. But obviously, somebody puts a gun to your head.
Bluffing or not, that's a pretty...
But I just stood there, and I just asked, I said, "What you going to do?" Now, a lot of that was stupidity. But I remember looking at the guy, not even thinking about I was going to get shot. But I just remembered I had this confidence, this calmness in me that didn't escalate the situation. And I said, "So, because you have a gun, you think you're bad, right?" I said, "So why don't you put down that gun and let's see what happens?" And so everybody's around. You know how in high school, everybody rumblings. And so I've got my side, he's got his side. And so the whole group kind of listened to what I said and sort of challenged him to say, "Okay, dude, let's see if you're talking all that smack. Put down the gun.
That's up you are then.
Yeah, let's see what you got." Well, he hands the gun to one of his friends.
All right.
And so
level playing field now.
Level playing field. Now, we all have those teenage moments that just sort of stand out.
Of course. So
this guy, and we're about the same physical size, and I've always been pretty muscular. So we're gonna go at it.
What was his stature, by the way? I'm trying to paint a picture of the scene and kind
of. We were about the same height, about the same size. He was a kind of what I call a jelly. Had long surfer blonde hair. Wasn't really muscular per se, but we're about evenly matched physically.
Gotcha. Okay.
So here we are. We're just right there, and so we do the, get the dukes up, and so we're about to
go ahead
do this thing. Now, I've always worked out. Okay. This guy, you could tell, probably never. Well, long story short, I faked with the left, came across with that right, and I literally knocked him out.
Cold.
In
front of everybody's.
One punch. I was the hero in my high school for weeks.
I bet.
People talked about it. It was my defining moment as a high schooler. I literally knocked somebody out.
Knocked them out.
I was like, what? I was surprised. It was the cleanest. I mean, it couldn't have been scripted any better.
So it wasn't a sucker punch. You guys were ready,
no, we were squared up. We were squared up. And I just went like this, and he tried to block it, and just traditional boxing move.
Right.
I'm right-handed. I'm not left-handed. And I just hit him perfectly. And I don't think I really hit him that hard per se, but I think I hit him in just a perfect spot, and he dropped.
Night.
And dude, I can't even tell you how cool that felt.
I bet. And as a high school kid, to knock someone outside in front of all your friends,
Oh
everybody
yeah,
else,
I mean,
you're like,
people
you're
were
a
talking
man.
about it, and
Yeah.
I was the big man on campus for at least a month.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, this is Michael, you'll knock you out. So that was in 1976. I'll never forget. In 1976,
76.
I knocked somebody out.
Wow. All right, so with that one, the next question would be, what would you say, and if you need to take some time to kind of think about it, that's fine, but your 3 happiest moments of your life, your top 3 moments of your life, you know, obviously it's on the spot, so you may need some time to think about
Oh
it.
no,
but-
that's easy. That's
All right.
easy. When you were born, because your mom and I had came up with 2 names that we were going to name you before you were born.
Do you
2
remember
names.
all or no? Do you?
Now, I don't remember what they
Okay.
were, but we said after you're born, we're going to decide what to name you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the hospital as soon as you were born, and the doctor handed you to me. As I was holding you, I can't explain it, but it was like I was looking at myself. And you looked at me, and you had this amazing little smile, and I looked, and the first words came out of my mouth were Michael. I said, that's Michael. And your mom just kind of smiled, and she said, yeah. Because I never thought about having a junior.
Mm-hmm.
That was not the name we had thought about. We had 2 other names. But when I held you, it was nothing short of a miracle. I was like,
Wow, this is me. I'm looking at.
I created this. I created this.
That's amazing.
And then you just kind of smiled, and I just went, Michael. And that's how you got your name.
Nice. All right, so that's the one. Well,
next.
that's one of the 3.
One of the 3. Next one. Impactful moment. I was an atheist
Right.
for a few years and didn't really believe in a power greater than myself. And so after doing some research and starting my own path, I remember sitting up late, and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. And there was a bookstore across the street from where I lived. There was a 24-hour bookstore.
Okay.
And something told me to go buy a Bible.
Hmm.
Now, I had been on this journey. Although I was an atheist at the time, I had been reading some spiritual stuff. And so I was still searching.
Right.
I was trying to find something that I could really connect with. And so I had done some research about the Bible and religion and Christianity. And so something woke me up and told me to go buy a Bible. So I went and bought a Bible. I'd never bought a Bible before. So I went to the bookstore and I bought this Bible. And I remember I opened up the Bible, and for some reason, I was drawn to Matthew in the New Testament. And as I started reading that passage, and I got to the parts where Jesus is speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And as I read his words, it were as though he were sitting right next to me,
Wow.
talking. And as I continued reading, he got to the part about loving people and loving oneself, and all of a sudden something in me just sort of shifted.
This is during your atheist years.
No, this was after.
Oh, after your.
I was coming out of atheism.
Gotcha. Okay.
I was an atheist, and then I started searching, and so I was coming out of atheism, and I was trying to find my path, trying to find my way.
Mm-hmm.
And when I read that, there was something in me that literally exploded, and I felt an unconditional love that I could never put in words.
Wow.
And as I read the words, I felt this presence. Religious people would say that I was bathed by the Holy Spirit, because that's really what it felt like.
Mm-hmm.
Something sort of came through me, and I made this connection for the first time with something greater than myself. And it was in that moment that I recognized that there was something. You can call it whatever you want to call it. As a matter of fact, at the time, I wasn't really comfortable calling it God, but I knew that there was something, this energy, this intelligence in the universe. And it confirmed for me what I'd always believed and never had the right teaching to tell me.
Mm-hmm.
But it confirmed for me this presence. And it was this feeling of unconditional love that literally brought me to tears.
And that's from reading a verse in Matthew is when you
The whole
got
chapter.
that. Oh, the
And
whole
actually,
chapter.
basically, all of the stuff, you know how you read the Bible and Jesus' words in red?
Right.
So
Yeah.
all the stuff that he said, as I was reading it, my heart just kind of opened. And I allowed myself to, for the first time, experience. Because see, the reason that I had such a difficult time with God is because I couldn't get God to fit in here. God was irrational. What I was taught, especially traditionally, what I was taught just didn't fit up here. And so I had always tried to process God from up here. But that night, I processed God from here. That feeling, that connection. And as I read those words and basically surrendered to that love that's already in me,
Mm-hmm.
it all came out. And I literally cried for about an hour.
Wow.
Powerful.
Is that by chance? Remember one time you told me I just moved into an apartment and you were happy you got the apartment. Oh, that's probably something different though. You slept on the floor.
Yeah, but see, that's what triggered my search for truth, because as you were mentioning, I had a rundown apartment that I didn't even have the money to have the lights on. All I had was a air mattress to lay on. That's the only possession I had.
Wow.
And I was listening to a tape, and the tape was by BB and CC Winans,
Okay.
and there was a song called "Searching for Love." And in the song, he says, "Searching for love, has anyone found it?" And as I was listening to that song, I was sitting on my air mattress. It's August. It's hot as all get out. I have no lights, no air conditioning. I'm sweating. I'm looking around my room. I have absolutely no possessions, but I was experiencing life's greatest paradox, which is I had absolutely nothing and absolutely everything at the same time.
Wow.
And when I listened to that song and I made that connection, I felt this love again. But this was nothing to do with religion. It's just that my heart opened to something bigger than me. And I realized that I didn't need anything outside of me to be happy, to be whole, to be complete. And see, all my life, that's all I had done.
Mm-hmm.
I chased cars and stuff and money and positions and power and blah, 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 blah. But I had all that stuff and I still wasn't happy. But in this moment, I realized, oh, I don't need anything out there to be happy. I am absolutely happy right now.
Nice.
And in that moment, I was like, oh, I get it. I get it. I get it. It's like that big toop.
Right.
It's like happiness is an inside job.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
It doesn't take anything out there. It's all in here. And I just surrendered to that. And that was just, whew. But anyway, that's the beginning of that story. So that event actually happened before I had the experience with the Bible.
Okay.
See, I was beginning coming out of my atheism, and that event triggered it, and then finding and getting the Bible was after that.
After that. Okay.
And
Gotcha.
that's when I was making that connection. So, last thing, happiest moments. Whew, man, I got so many. But I think one of the most powerful experiences of my life, I was in a workshop. And in this workshop, we had this process where we were supposed to declare what's called our contract with the universe. And the way it worked is that you were to tap into your deepest experience as a human being and try to put it in a sentence that declared who you are. So here's my contract. My contract was, and a contract always starts with I am.
I am.
Okay? So my contract was, I am a powerful, courageous, fearless leader. Okay?
Powerful stuff.
So that was my contract. But what happened was, when we did this exercise, when I wrote my first contract, I wrote something like, I am a loving, caring man, or something like that. So during this workshop, when I did my first contract, there was a guy in the workshop that said, Michael, I don't think that's your contract. The loving, caring man. Everybody in the room said, yeah, that's Michael. He says, no, Michael, I don't think that's you. Well, there was a process which I can't share because of confidentiality, but there was a process that we went through to where we had to declare to everybody what our contract was. And during this process, I'm surrounded by several of my friends, and they're around me, and I'm in the center of the circle. And so I had to verbalize my contract.
Okay.
Well, when it was my turn, they said, okay, Michael, what's your contract? All of a sudden, instead of that first contract that I had declared, what came out of me was, and this is kind of what it sounded like. I said, and I basically roared. I said, I am a powerful, courageous, fearless leader. And the room stood still. And everybody in the circle around me told me afterwards, they said, Michael, when you said that, it was like you were out of your body. And when you said that, they said that they literally, when they touched me, my skin was hot to the touch. Not just warm, like they said, Michael, whatever happened, something came out of you. And so that declaration of me declaring that contract, for me, how I perceive that is that my soul, if you will, woke up in that instant. That I was put on this planet to be this powerful, courageous, fearless leader. Because that's who and what I am. And as a matter of fact, I still have the contract that I wrote down on the poster. That it's one of my fondest memories. Because it woke up something in me that I can't explain in words. But it's who and what I am and why I was put on this planet.
That's some powerful stuff right there. Wow.
So those are my three.
Three, okay.
All right, so we're gonna start winding down. I just want to ask you this: what's for you? Final question.
All right.
From son to father, what are you most proud of about me?
The thing I'm most proud about is that from day one, and now that I'm older, I realize it, but from day one, you've always done everything you possibly could to make sure that I was okay and be the best father that you can be. And to go through certain things at a young age and not really understand and be able to process everything, but now that I'm older and I'm an adult, and I realize, I look back and I'm still in awe and amazed. That's why to me, like, you're like my Superman, because you went through so much adversity. You were raised literally by, not a devil, but you're in a pretty tough environment, and you have all the excuses in the world to make as to why you can fail, or you have all these cop-outs you can use, but you're such a man of, you're genuine. There's a word that's just it's on my tongue that describes you, but to put everything together, the fact that you've loved me, you've never stopped loving me. That's the main thing. Just love, definitely love. And looking back on it, now that I'm, growing up and eventually have a family of my own, having my child and having a prototype. I'm kind of losing train of thought right now, but
no, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just thankful to have a father who stayed in my life, who could have easily walked out, but who has always been there for me. There's not one time I can literally say that you have never been there for me in my 34 years on this planet. If I ever needed you, you've always been there. And to say that again with everything that odds against you, and to still be the man that you grew up to be, that means the world to me, and I will be forever thankful for that. Definitely.
Well, from father to son, so many things that I'm proud of, but I think I'm most proud of you for your emotional honesty. You've always been able to express how you feel, and I've done the very best that I can to sort of validate that. But I've always been amazed at your emotional maturity, because I know I struggle with emotions as an adult. And for you to be able to explain to me and share with me how you felt, it always made me really proud that you were so emotionally mature.
Mm-hmm.
And now to see you so open and so intelligent, and so you're introspective, self-introspective, and you ask yourself deeper questions, and I love being able to sit here and have conversations with you, and this is what a father-son relationship is supposed to be like.
Right.
So
Definitely.
I'm absolutely blown away by the man that you've become. I'm not surprised, but I guess in some ways you exceeded my expectations of what a son should be.
Yeah. In my mind, honestly, a lot of the things also that really drove me was to know that my dad would be proud of me. I want you to be proud of me. I'll do certain things, and I'll think back, like, man, my dad doesn't find out. Like I just wanted you to look at me and just, continue giving that love that you've always given me. But just to be the kind of dad you want. I mean, at a young age, everything that you did, I wanted to be just like you. Whether you ordered your food, I wanted to order the same thing I was gonna eat. And your ambitions to have your own, job and own company. But I think that a lot of with me, kind of like asking deeper questions, when I have a purpose-filled life, wanting to do more for humanity as opposed to just myself. I know that comes from you also, um, and it all starts at a younger age. And again, it's something I'm just forever indebted for. I'm forever grateful for it, and I'm just so blessed to have such a great dad like you. I love you, and I wouldn't have anyone else be my dad than you. I'm glad you're my dad.
Well, this is what it's all about, and this is why I do this podcast, because absolutely, have always been, will always be proud of you. But the fact is, I have always loved you unconditionally, and you actually make that easy. You make that easy. You are easy to love. You're very easy to love. All right, so we're going to wind down this episode of Shatter the Stereotypes. Mike, let me just say thank you, man, for just hanging out with your pop today.
I enjoyed it, man. Yeah, it's your day.
The apple didn't fall far from the tree. See, I told you this would be a breeze. This would be fun.
Yeah.
But more importantly, for the viewers who are watching, I hope this conversation has spurred some thoughts, and maybe you're thinking about your own son or daughter and how you show up as a father. And just understand that, as I mentioned, being a great father isn't genetic. It's learned behavior. Any man can become a great father. I didn't have a great father, but I made a commitment and a promise that I was going to become one. And if I can do it, so can you. All right. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next episode on Shatter the Stereotypes.